Bingo introduces Live Football Bingo, where events in every English Premier League game can win you prizes for a £1 card. And the fastest full house of the season is worth £20,000. Head to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Get yourself over to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your Monday Night Talking Towns Extra Time, the show to put the final exclamation point on a glorious weekend. If you support Ipswich Town Football Club, that is, because it has been a magical weekend. Town in 25 released about 35 minutes ago. I've got the last 5 minutes, so don't go spoiling the end for me. We know to get promotion. That bit I do know. But I'm looking forward to seeing the last 5 minutes of the Town in 25. I was engrossed in it for 20 minutes and then realised, I've got to go live. And quickly had to just ensure the hair was looking on point as always. And as we always do here, we can't do this show without you wonderful people at home getting involved in the live chat, as many of you are already doing so. And of course, clicking that link and coming on the show to have your say on your platform. It really is the fans' platform, for fans, by fans. The chance to have your say unfiltered and totally and utterly live. Let's get some comments. Nick said this was better than 2000 at Wembley. The whole Ipswich got to share it this time. Rabbit Man says, Nick, we're selling in the limelight. Been a great weekend. It has been a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to just seeing what we do this evening, what we discuss, what the different perspectives are, the favourite moments, the favourite pictures, the favourite videos. Martin Green, this is the longest stream I have had. Can't go over how good Saturday was. I was struck watching the Town in 25, how just fantastically magical this whole thing has been, just how good it will be when Town are back where we belong in the Premier League. Just how good will those promotion stakes be? That's what I'm really looking forward. That promotion party. Crunchy's looking forward to the club dinner. Crunchy obviously is not very well at the moment. I mean, I think I might have caught what he's got because I'm not feeling the best myself. But I have got some of the best 3-word reviews. I've gone through his 3-word review thread on Twitter, pulled out 1 or 2. Hang on, I'll tell a lie. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 written down here. We'll try and feed them in through the course of the evening. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Thank you so much for all of the 3-word reviews. Thank you to everybody that's got involved throughout the season. We'll, of course, be doing it again next year. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for more information on how that's going to look next season. Looking forward to seeing beaten Norwich tick. Looking forward to those 3-word reviews. We've got Phil Blundell, Josh Russell in the room. Love it. Get the chat. It's so busy. I looked away for a second and I've lost where I was. Zirak, you got over your fatigue and or hangover yet, Gov? Well, I am a 1-pint person. I did have a pint on Saturday. And I'm not sours hangover, though. That's a little bit much. But I'm still fatigued. I mean, I've had a busy week, Zero. Let's just break this down. What I've accomplished this. Well, not what I've accomplished this week. I mean, my part is very little in it. I'll be honest. But I went to Posh. I saw us win 3-0. I don't remember Walton making a save. I went to Barnsley. I saw us win 3-0. I don't remember Walton making a save. And then, of course, we had Saturday where we've won 6-0. And again, I don't think Walton made a save. It's been a fantastic week of supporting Ipswich Town. If this is what like under the game changers, I'm all for it. Edward was out celebrating with a few of the players last night. Top guys, and what a team. Let us know the stories there, Edward. Want to know what the ins and the outs of that was. Andy, let's pay tribute to the backroom staff. Have never seen a team so fit, even with the grueling April schedule, so full of energy still. He may want to Saturday by his near post. I don't think picking his own water bottle up Josh is a save, but okay, we'll take that. I don't remember it, honestly, but then that might just be me glossing over just how good we were. Gov will be on a championship tour. Why not? Love it. Right, get your weekend thoughts in. Let's get cracking. Let's bring in the person who's going to sit with me this evening. Designer, George Nunn.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Surprise either way that Town are going to win the league next year. All right, that's an early prediction. We'll park. But
Probably would be a little surprised by that.
Well, I was asked on Saturday on the train home. Random person, how do you think Town will do next year in the Championship? And I'll save that prediction for the summer. But in case we don't get you on a show where we ask you that question, how do you think Town are going to do in the Championship next year? Are you confident?
Yeah, I think we'll be at least top half. But ask me again when the transfer window's 2/3 of the way through, and I'll revise my answer.
I want to get your thoughts on the weekend. First of all, Wood Clark was a great little comment here. I'll get your thoughts on this one. Mark Ashton has to take credit, huge credit, he says, for appointing Kieran McKenna as manager, as I'd imagine not many of his supporters have had ever heard of him, and what a job he has done.
And let's not forget sticking with him despite all of the...
Well, we had some humble pie last night on the show. Yeah, we had some humble pie on the show last night. Matty Phillips eating his humble pie, not seeing it jump back. It is a glorious sight to see him eating that humble pie. But I guess it was a rumble, though, wasn't it? I mean, was it like 2 wins in a couple of months? It was dodgy ground, you're right, but he stuck with it.
Yeah, we weren't. I wasn't suggesting it was. I was being facetious, but of course, he deserves loads of credit, and I don't imagine that he was ever for an instant thinking that he'd made a mistake during that slightly. I mean, in the grand scheme of the whole season, it looks like a bit of a sticky patch, right? But we didn't lose many games in that time either. We were just struggling a little bit with winning. So most teams, I was going to say every team, but Plymouth seem to have spread theirs across the season in terms of they've not had one patch where they looked a bit.
They haven't.
But he did a great job. He and his team, I guess, finding McKenna and identifying him and convincing him to come here from Manchester United. Although I wonder if we maybe benefited from the state of things at Manchester United at the time.
Yeah, they weren't the best there at the time. Before we get George's thoughts on the weekend, hit the like button, subscribe if you're brand new here. I've had a whole host of new subscribers, so welcome to the Talking Town family. And hopefully you'll find something that's going to be to your taste and liking. George, the weekend, we've had so many great scenes. Coach arriving. We had game changer celebrations at the end. No one in the stadium, but there they are. We are going up.
Yeah, they waited for everyone to leave, didn't they? That was fun.
They bottled it a little bit, George. Let's be honest. We know you're watching. Come on, next time when we're promoted, full stadium, get in front of that banner. But no, jokes aside, what are your Monday evening thoughts from the weekend? That's just
it was phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, I was didn't break too much with my normal pre-match traditions, had a drink. I was going to say quiet drink. It wasn't very quiet with my dad and some lunch beforehand.
It won't be.
And then wandered down and I was a little bit after the coach, but I could hear it from my dad's house, which isn't too far away. But it sounded like the game was on, which was absolutely outstanding. And obviously I've seen lots of videos since, and what an effort from everyone that went down and lined the streets, and I'm sure that it made a big difference. I think that's one of those things that you can't really underestimate how much that would have boosted the players, and I guess they've said as much. But and the game was just bonkers. It was just crazy. Like I can't say that I felt as nervous before that as I did during the week. I kind of felt quite calm about it. I didn't think we were going to struggle too much. I thought we'd probably win it. I'm going to say comfortably, but not by that kind of margin. I think I had in my mind that we'd probably be tight and win 2 or 2-1. But what a absolutely phenomenal, and the word I said at the time, and I've heard it used a lot since, it was just humbling. We absolutely put Exeter to the sword, and
we did.
We didn't show them anything but the respect that their performance deserved, and they looked ordinary apart from maybe 10 minutes in the first half, and we just capitalized on it. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
It was phenomenal, and there's so many different things. And one of the 3-word reviews that came in was from Jen, who posted "Memories lasting forever," and Jen is spot on, isn't she? There's just so many takeaway memories that will just last a lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, some of us, those of us that were at Wembley, you know, I'm not quite old enough to reach back to remembering European days, and I was born just after the FA Cup final. So Wembley and '92, I was there the week after we claimed promotion in '92, which was similar-ish sort of atmosphere, but obviously that was already a party atmosphere because we were up from what I remember in terms of the atmosphere. But yeah, this was up there with Wembley Day for me. Like, it was just absolutely amazing, and for those amongst us that haven't ever experienced that, and that's way too many people. Let's kid ourselves. Too many of our fans have not experienced anything quite like that. Like, the closest they've probably come is us being beaten in the playoffs by Norwich, which is that's awful.
Well, the 1-1 they would have been there mostly for, wouldn't they? Because obviously the one we got beat.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of experiencing the it as a almost sort of nearly round type of thing, like, it was just a phenomenal day. Amazing.
It really was. Tom James just finished Town 25 with a few glasses of red. Sublime. Edward drinks were flying down at bar 21 in town. Davis, Chaplin, Clark, JD, Wes, Harness, Emerson and Ball were all there. Great to meet them, as they seem genuinely decent blokes. Me and Josh, we were walking down from Curve, and we walked past Haladki, Chaplin and Harness. No one was around us. I don't know if they got a lift to that certain point or what had happened, because it was so real. There was 3 town players coming to, one of which is one of the heroes of the year, 29 goals, and it was just like, all right, Connor, how's it going? It was such a surreal moment.
My own surreal moment. Just after I saw you left you guys, I was walking up Orford Street towards my mum's house, and I walked past 2 chaps on the other side of the road, and I was like, oh, it's just Burley and Butcher, just wandering back from the game. It was very, very surreal. They were just having just conversation. I almost stopped to do the embarrassing selfie thing, but I stopped myself. But it was very strange, because it was just us on the whole road, because obviously most people had moved on by then. But yeah, obviously coming back from the ground. But I assume just going to get changed and put some smart shoes on and head out into town.
Get back out of here. Yeah, I wish my phone had battery, because I'd have had a picture with obviously the 3 players, but my phone was well and truly cooked by that point. 80 says, who had heard of Leif Davis? We were operating at a different level now. No more Harpers, etc. Recruited by YouTube clips, I should think. Yeah, we'll come to the level we expect to be at, I suppose, in a moment. 80 says, haven't had a feeling like that watching town since Wembley 2000, tears and goosebumps. One of the moments I really wish I'd been out there for, Josh. Sorry, George. I was just seeing Josh on the bottom of the screen. He's about to come in. George, is the coach arriving? Now, I was there. I was in the fan zone, and I was like, it's so packed outside. I'm not quite sure I'll get back in the fan zone, or whether the guy with the stick can sort of be out there in amongst what was an absolute scene. But having seen the videos and the pictures, and Josh Russell has a fantastic one he sent me. That is a lifetime memory in itself. Were you a part of there? Have you seen it? How have you viewed it?
No, I just heard it from my dad, which was in of itself was incredible, because, like I say, it sounded like it was halfway through a game. Like, I can often hear games when they're on if I'm not there from up there, and yeah, it was so. I mean, I could just tell that it was an amazing atmosphere, but it was so loud. So credit, and it, like I say, it does look like it was incredible to be in amongst it. And I do kind of wish I'd made the effort to leave a little early and head down. But that's a fair play to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone involved. It looked amazing.
And I've often been a bit of a stickler. I've often criticised pyro as a not needed thing. But I'll tell you what, I take it all back. In love with the blue pyro, in love with the scene, because I think the pyro makes those scenes really, particularly on the camera and when you're watching it back, really sort of just, I think as somebody said, where maybe Lee Evans or none of the players, like a Champions League final you're arriving to, or a big European tie, that real big gravitas moment. And unlike town teams of years gone by, George, they didn't capitulate. They They didn't go within themselves. They didn't make it harder than they needed to be. The eyes of the tiger.
That's been the case for the last 2 months, right? If not more. Like all season, we can't really, apart from Charlton, we can't really accuse ourselves of capitulating too much. But particularly for the last 2 months, we've I think amongst fans, we've had the conversations about who's nervous and who isn't nervous, and are we going to do it and aren't we going to do it? And the team have just looked constantly like they've just got the bit between their teeth and they're raring to go, and almost had no doubt in themselves. Like whether they had doubt in whether they could do it, because it looked like such a task even a few weeks ago. But they just looked like every time you saw them, they looked like they were out to win this game of football. It was just we're gonna win this game of football.
Owen Griffiths. Paul Lambert had it right. Bring the pyro. Lee Anderson's in the room. Lee has been busy on Twitter slaying some budgies over the last 24 hours.
We're starting debating already, are we?
Anytime I log in, it's Lee Anderson just giving it large. I can see him sort of going. Brilliant. Love it. Josh, a lifetime of memories made at the weekend. What are your overriding thoughts on the Monday night?
Well, my first promotion, so I'm still buzzing off it. You know, like George said, the only thing I've seen is 1-1 draw at home to Norwich in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
and for a generation like yourself, you've been starved of the success.
Yep.
So what's it mean to you to see the scene, be a part of the scene, see the videos, see the 10 and 25? Just tell us a little bit about what it means to see those things at the moment to yourself.
I've not watched Town 25 yet, so I can't comment on that one.
Good.
But being part of the welcoming the coach at the beginning, you know, soaking that up before the game was fantastic. You know, and even watching those videos, even watching my video back that I made at the start, it was just incredible. Like you were saying, it felt like an FA Cup final, it felt like a Champions League final, it felt like a major trophy final at the beginning of the game, and you know, so even that made me emotional. We hadn't even played the game yet. And I can't lie. After the third goal went in, I got a bit emotional because it was done and there was no way still coming back. And to experience it, I've never had a feeling like it. And this club's going places, and I can't wait.
Rob Holmes with a great comment. Josh, loved it on Talksport when they asked Chaplin who's going to struggle when they go to training tomorrow after celebrating. He said Burns. No one's seen him since Saturday night.
I loved it. He was drinking. He was going through. He was rattling through those beers, and he was hiding them all inside the promotion sign while they were doing all of the awards and all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that. Just party like it's 1999. Get involved. That's what it's about. We saw a second ago. We saw Chaplin, Harness, and Haladki, didn't we? Walking down the street. Bit of a surreal moment. No one around them. Who? First of all, was it a penalty? I guess that's been overlooked a little bit.
No.
Was it a penalty for you?
It wasn't. I've watched it back like 5 times. It wasn't. It really wasn't. It was so.
And who's been your favourite player this year? Who's been your real standout player this year for you?
I'm going to say the man I called to get 20 plus goals has to be Chaplin.
Good man. All right. And your quick prediction on how we're going to do next year before I let you go?
Top 6.
Good man. Easy. Josh, as always, a real pleasure. Home and away next year, according to Ben Moore. That's what we're doing.
Definitely, mate.
Good man. Good man. Keep living the high life. Josh Russell, I'll tell you what, we've got a comment. Came in a second ago, but I just lost it. But I'll come to the next point I'm going to question you is when we went down a couple of years ago, I'm not going to say how long, too long.
4 years ago.
Relegation won't be such a bad thing. It's been longer. And we had a 3-word review coming from Ian Davis, who says, "Goodbye Pizza Cup," which I think is a great comment. Goodbye Pizza Cup. We hardly knew thee, to be fair. We were hardly long enough to know.
I was going to say, that was what I was going to say. It's not like we said hello
to was it a bad thing, George? Or in retrospect, now we're back. We can really examine that. Was it a bad thing, or do you think anytime you get relegated, it's a bad thing?
It's so difficult, isn't it? Because at the time, I was probably somebody that said that something similar to that, but if I was honest with myself, probably trying to convince myself that it wasn't just the end of the world. But now, 4 years on, would we have been bought by the people who bought us for the money they bought us for. If we weren't, let's not kid ourselves. These guys are not diehard Ipswich fans. These guys are guys who wanted to buy a football club that had potential. And there's a few of them that have been available over the last few years. And I suspect one that's currently available that I'm sat about a mile and a half from as I speak. And so you never know. And I think in hindsight, I was probably kidding myself at the time, but it probably worked out for the best. And it probably worked out that it was good for us, because I'm not convinced that we would have been Game Changer's choice if we weren't in the exact situation that we were in at the time. So, we have to take it for what it was. It's done now, and let's just look forward. We even going down 18 months, 2 years of that, if not more, was bloody awful as well. So I think there was probably a moment in there where none of us would have believed that what we'd said was true. But yeah, now let's just soak it in and assume that it was meant to be. Absolutely. I'm not a particularly spiritual person, but let's just assume that what was meant to be is what's come to pass.
Yeah, I like that. And I know that the Game Changers were looking at various different clubs. I don't think many, if any, win the Championship. I think that most of them were on their League One level, where it's a good entry point for value. As you just mentioned,
the quality and size of teams in League One since before we dropped down. I mean, you could probably go almost back as far as 2010 when Norwich dropped down. That was kind of, I mean, it was probably the rounder about.
That year had Leeds in it with them.
Yeah, when big teams started to drop into the third tier, when the money was really starting to show, and teams weren't safe, and that has continued and probably become more pronounced as those teams don't immediately jump back up again, like it looks like the likes of Derby aren't going to, and we didn't, and etc. and Sunderland didn't initially. So League One is exactly where I'd look if I was looking to invest in English football.
Agreed. And Leon says, Frank Yallop needs another mention here. Love that. Michael Finch with, let's make no bones about it, the Championship is a whole new beast. It's 50% faster and more competitive. Well, you mentioned the Game Changers there, George. We've got a little bit of history of the Game Changers. We know what they've done with the football club. That's the history we can go off. What do you expect them to deliver us in terms of a Championship football team? What can the past tell us about what we can expect from this window and future windows moving forward, do you think?
Yeah, I can only speculate, but I would be very surprised if it wasn't a similar situation. So I suspect we won't be shy in the transfer window this summer, but equally, I don't expect it to be hatfuls of players. I suspect.
What's your gut telling you, George? What does your gut as a fan sort of say? Do you think you're going to sort of see out of the ownership?
In terms of spend, in terms of
in terms of everything. Because I think as fans, we've all got our own perspective of what we've seen happen and what we think from that is going to happen. Some will say no transfer fee is off the table. Some will say we'll go absolutely, champagne crazy, like Chaplin in the dressing room, dousing poor Harry Clark. Some will say we'll be more restrained. What does your gut as a fan say to you?
My gut says that we will be sensible but not frugal. I think I'm not sure we will hold back. If there's a player that we want, we will chase that player. I think we probably learned from the last couple of summers that we can spend a little bit too long chasing players that don't end up coming off. And I think Hurst has probably shown that he might have been worth chasing a little harder, or maybe we were never that likely.
Coughing up the cash when it needed to be coughed up.
Given that he went to the Championship, so who knows? But I think I would be very surprised if we hadn't already agreed a price for Hurst. That if we weren't having that conversation, and who knows, after tonight and the next few games, that may very well change his situation with Leicester or theirs with him. So I don't expect us to skimp, but I don't expect us to just start spaffing money everywhere like it's going out of fashion. I think I'm not sure the ownership will have huge amounts of input. I think that's probably already well since been clarified in terms of if you stay down, this is what you're going to have. If you go up, we'll give you a little bit more. if you need a little bit more than that, you run it by us, and we'll consider it. And that's the sensible way to do it. Everything else will go through Ashton and McKenna, and that's the way it should be. So, and I don't anticipate that those guys are going to be, that I don't think it's going to be a 20-person long list of primary targets. There might be 20 on it in case some don't come off, but I haven't been through the squad yet, when I'm sure that'll be subject for a future podcast. But I think off the top of my head, I don't know, 3 to 6 players, I guess. I don't know. It really, really depends. We'll see a lot of activity early doors, I imagine. Lost you.
Sorry. Being promoted that week earlier does also allow the club now to operate in we're already promoted. Let's get a head start on, on the playoff team coming up, which could be a big team in itself. It could be a Barnsley or a Wednesday, or a team who's not quite sure on their own survival in the championship, etc. £2 from Owen Griffiths, announced talking wrestling. Not quite sure about that, Owen, but thank you for the £2. I mentioned different fans got the different perspectives. €5 from David. Appreciate that, David. Thanks ever so much. Emerson says 3 to 4 quality signings is all. James says 15 and 20 million he believes the club will spend, whereas Phil says 10 million on 3 or 4 players. So every fan, I believe, has their own perspective on what they think the club are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, my gut, based on absolutely nothing, I don't think 10 million is an unreasonable figure for us to be looking to spend on the right players.
I'm just doing it on a striker. Fascinating one ball. Mr. George creating a club bingo for a town in League One, a game changer, but not messing about. I hope it goes well. That's obviously with Match Bingo Oozle, which you can sign up. Link in the description.
Maybe I can convince some people to let us have the championship games next season. Now that I've got a reason.
Town are in the semi big time. 10 million for Oozle. If we can get Hurst, do some back and some depth, I'll be happy. Not forward to going through these in the summer. I really am. Now, some more 3-word reviews. We got one from Graham. Let me just go to my Graham. He says fans deserve this, which I think is probably when I'm going to bring in this man here. Graham says 3-word review. Fans deserve this, Colin.
Oh, good evening, Gov. How are you?
I am very well, very excited still. Fans deserve this, says Graham. He's right, isn't he? We fans deserve this after the decades of.
Absolutely. I'm glad Josh came on earlier, because what he said, I think, underlines absolutely everything. A lad of his age, and I don't know exactly how old he is, but I can kind of imagine. His success is a 1-1 draw with Norwich. Yeah. And like I put in the chat at the time, Josh, that is cruel. And how many people of his age, or even a little bit older, has gone through that cruel phase? Absolutely shocking. And yes, we do deserve this, Gov and George. We absolutely do. And by the way, Gov, thanks for getting me on tonight.
Not a problem at all.
I definitely wanted to come on because, we don't get these very often. Like I said on Saturday, next season will be my 60th season, and this is my 5th promotion. 1 every 12 years exactly. That puts it all into perspective. I mean, so I was on Radio Suffolk the other day, and like I said on Radio Suffolk, people do deserve this. And I'll tell you what, look, those scenes up the town the other night were something that I haven't seen for donkey's years. I mean, the last time I saw those kind of scenes were obviously the last time was obviously the last time obviously was in 2000. The one before that was 1981, and the one before that was 1978. So, like we're talking about, 23 years. We're talking about and 40 years plus, So fantastic, and the players thing was absolutely superb. I mean, and to see Kieran, like somebody put in the chat, it was 80, put in the chat about seeing Kieran letting his hair down, so to speak, and really looking like one of the lads. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And a few more 3-word reviews I want to get your thoughts on, because you're a passionate Town fan. And you had some great words for our friends up the road in Peterborough. Well, there's new friends up the road, or returning friends up the road. And we've got Aaron, who says, Norwich scared shitless. And Paul Wadey, Budgies, we're back. You got any words for our friends up the A140?
Let me think just for a second. I think if I said something like "we're coming for you," that's a bit cheesy. City, we are ready.
Ooh. Do you
Wait
ready as we are? Go on.
I've thought of 3 more words for the scrap.
I've now got that chance. Get into him. Come on, get into him. Love it. It's good though, isn't it, Colin, to get the Derby Day back. That's always a fixture as a fan you really look forward to. It's good to have that finally back on the calendar, isn't it?
Absolutely, Gav. I mean, we've had these conversations haven't we, over the last 3 or 4 years about that lot, the other way, a derby. We know what at Cambridge. It's Peterborough a derby. Well, Peterborough ain't nowhere near a derby because it's about 80 miles. Cambridge fans seem to think Cambridge Ipswich is a derby, but we don't, they do. There's only one East Anglian derby, and that's Ipswich Town versus Norwich City. And look, we're all looking forward to it. I'm sure that lot are looking forward to it as well. Probably not as much as we are, if I'm totally honest, because, from all what we keep hearing, sounds like the walls are crumbling a little bit down there. And
protests are afoot.
Sorry, Gov?
Protests are afoot.
Well, that's lovely, isn't it? I mean, let's face it. We've got to be honest, Gov, on here, and George. They've been laughing at us for far too long.
Very true.
And they have. That's a fact. And penny for Liam Gibbs thoughts. Hey, Gov and George.
I don't begrudge him leaving. I would have arguably done the same. The chance to test yourself at a higher level at a time when the football club, I'm sure George might agree, was a little bit in.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would have left then, right? He left at a time when it was tough to see when things were going to improve, and arguably probably just at the wrong time. But again, hindsight. But coming back to something Colin said, and it's a good point about the derby and looking forward to the derby. I think the thing for me, and this is almost goes back for some people like Josh probably as well, in terms of something you can't remember, is this isn't just getting a derby back. This will be the first derby that I look forward to with optimism. Already I'm looking forward to it with optimism, because let's not beat around the bush. We've been pretty close to whipping boys for them for way too long, and they've had their turn. And you're right, they have laughed at us, and I've taken a lot of it for the last 12 years. And I think they are, they need to. It's our turn, and it's our time, and I'm looking forward to next.
Can I just come in there, George, on the East Anglian derby thing? Obviously, I go back. I mean, I can remember going with my dad. I remember Colin Billjohn's first derby at Carrow Road. He got a hat trick and a 4-3 win. I can remember, if Norwich fans are watching this, I remember Kevin Keelan. I remember Tommy Bryceland. I remember Ron Davis. I remember punting on the wing. I remember Dave Stringer, Duncan Forbes, the biggest animal ever. So I remember all the days where they used to have that big old badge with that massive great canary on it, kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, I can remember the days even like when Graham Padden and that were playing for them. They were a half decent correction, 25% good first division side in them days. And honestly, the coach used to come along, and we used to just be laughing at him. As a coach come up, just laugh at him. And we used to shout things like, oh, if you get a draw today, you'll be lucky. And I'll tell you what, quite honestly, Norwich, like in our heyday, Norwich were happy. They were happy if they got naught. And they were even happier if they got a draw, if they got a point, I mean, without trying to sound arrogant, I'll tell you what, we ruled the roost for a long, long time over them, and they have us over this last period. But I think, like Rich and a lot of other people have said, I think things are, you know, and Gov said it, I think things are just starting to change. And, you know, in football, it does go in circles, doesn't it, Gov? And, you know, I just think, look, I'm not saying they're totally like scared out of their wits, but I tell you what, they're starting to think along the lines where, hold on, I think that lot down the road, us, you know, are really starting to step up again. And I think they would, you know, admit that if they told the truth.
They would say that about anybody else if it wasn't their nearest and dearest rivals. Colin, is there one more thing from you before I let you go, my man?
Well, I've seen one or two people, but I'd like to go on record on here as saying it publicly. Again, just to thank you, to George, to Rich, obviously Matt, all the main contributors on here, the people who have kept this going, and you've done a fantastic job. And also, I'd just like to say again to Mr. Ashton, Mr. O'Leary, that all the owners and everybody involved with the club, and that goes down to like the media team and everybody. Look, Mark said it, you know, whenever it was, a couple of years ago, whatever it was, you know, let's start pulling together. We have pulled together. Please let me say, Olga, we have pulled together, but the fans, my friends, right? I've only missed one away game in the league this season, and I'll tell you what, we've sold out every away end in the league this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that is phenomenal when you consider that some of those games, like Port Vale, like Barnsley, those places are not near, and especially on a Tuesday night. You all, including me, I suppose, but you all deserve a bloody medal for that. And I'll tell you what, we've pulled that side through on occasions. I remember at Port Vale, you know, it was 1-0, well, it went there 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 2-2. Then we, you know, started singing again. We won 3-2, Ladarpo. You know, those kind of nights get you where we are right now.
Yeah. And
every one of you, lady, gent, little boy, little girl, of which there are lots these days, thank the Lord, you have been tremendous, and you deserve a medal round your neck, just like Wes and Wolfie and the rest. You've been tremendous, and so have all you who did the Taunton Town.
Got him. We love you. We appreciate you. Look after yourself, my man. All the best. And he's spot on the money there. A lot of well wishes coming in. And maybe you feel the same. And I thank him for his warm words there. You can support the platform by hitting the join button on YouTube or heading to Ko-Fi. Never miss a chance to plug it, George.
Beautiful stuff. I loved it.
I know. Cheers, mate.
Click the like button or subscribe and all of those things.
Absolutely. Links in the chat. But yeah, you can support the platform. We'll be here next year evolving the content. I'll tell you, one of my happiest moments, George, was telling you, George, I'm going to need a whole new match day thumbnail.
Yeah.
That don't involve Lincoln, Cheltenham, Morecambe, or anybody else.
As you know, they're already in the works.
I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see the badges like Norwich and, you know, just Norwich really. But
yeah, well, coming back to Norwich, I think Colin's right. No one's pretending that Norwich are running scared. I think what all of us want is a competitive derby. I think you know, it's just going to be such an exciting season next season. I think that's the one thing that we can look forward to, is that it's going to be probably the most competitive championship season that we've had for a long time.
feel like we've been saying that forever though about the championship. Like, even when we were in it, it's the most competitive. This, that, and the other. You are right. Bring Zurak in. Zurak,
For us, yeah.
how are you, man? Welcome in. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
I'm very well, thank you. Competitive championship looking like next year. Who do you? Let's start with the obvious question. Who do you fancy coming down from the Premier League? I'll put the Premier League table on as it stands right now. I mean, this is exciting in itself. Look at actually at the Premier League table and it affecting us to some degree. The bottom three are Southampton, Everton, Forest. Who do you fancy then, Zurak? Who do you want to see the mighty blue and white Ipswich Town play next year from the Premier League?
I mean, definitely Everton. You know, with the fact that obviously we've now got Brody, he didn't get a sniff in there. I found it quite funny actually. The Newcastle Everton game where you had Isak running down the wing, and I was like, yeah, the Everton used to have a player like that, and then they sold him to us for 1.5 million. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But honestly, like, something I wanted to say really on this is until this season, I've kind of fallen out of love with football. Like I did the typical thing that every kid does, where you grow up, you love football. I did support, and I do support a big club in Arsenal. Unfortunately, they're bottling it this year. But
we'll gloss over that. Don't worry.
But you know, I fell out of love with it when I was 13, 14. Going back to what you were saying about Norwich and stuff. I don't remember any of the players we actually had, but I remember Pookie and I remember Holt, I believe his name was.
Yeah, Grant Holt.
And that just proves we were nowhere. And I was, loosely following the scores. But this year, I mean, I went down to Portman Road on Saturday. Didn't have a ticket. I just went down for the coach greeting and the atmosphere. And it was absolutely amazing.
And it was an amazing atmosphere. The fact that it's drawn you down without the ticket to be and you're not the only person, actually. I saw somebody after the game who name escapes me. Tell me, sorry. I know you watched the stuff, and thank you ever so much. Who didn't have a ticket either, just came down to soak up the atmosphere. And the only chance I remember that happening, Zurak, was after the Barnsley playoff win, when the coaches got back from the playoff final win, and the town was just still like it was on Saturday. Cars up and down Portman Road, bibbing their horns, flags, people just wanting to be a part of it. And that's what Saturday was like. And it's going to be tough next year, but how do you expect town to sort of, get on and achieve?
From everything I've heard, definitely, I think, top 10. I know for some reason the bookies are already saying we're like second favourites to win the league, which I think is ridiculous. But yeah, I definitely see, definitely top 10, possibly playoffs. I mean, look at Sunderland this year. They're doing really well, and we do have a better squad than them, in my opinion. So I think if we continue on this trajectory and pack out Portman Road every week, I don't see why we couldn't get into playoffs next year, sneaking it in.
And obviously, you're a long-time contributor in the chat, which we love you for, Zurak, but your first-time person clicking the link, love that. Hope to see you again soon. Who's your best player? Who's your favourite player from this year?
So, as I said, I only really started watching like towards the middle, so like December time. Obviously, got to go Homeboy Clark as well. I don't know why I just always really liked him, but in a season as a whole, got to go Chaplin or Morsey, ain't you? You just got to.
Yeah, you absolutely have. Hopefully, click that link again, Zurak, when we sign the next multi-million-pound sensation.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
And by the way, Emerson says, don't worry, you've not bottled it. You just missed out to a stronger animal, that's all.
Well, financial fair play rules, if only they existed for Man City, eh? I didn't say that one either.
There we go. Views on their own, not of the network. I do not have the money for the solicitor fees to take on the Man City powerhouse. I really don't. Another 3-word review, George, was from Liam. He puts in capitals with an exclamation point. We're back, bitches. Like it. I'll ask Zurak. I'll ask you. Who do you fancy then, George, from the Premier League? Then we'll look at the Championship and say who do you fancy staying in there? Who do you fancy coming down from the Premier League, Mr. Nunn?
Oh, I'd love to see us play Everton. I
Yeah,
really would. I had a soft spot for Everton when I was young, for reasons unknown. And I'd love to see Everton at Portman Road. That'd be great.
Everton were up for sale for £1 once when I was in year 7. And me and a friend, Stefan, we went through the whole Everton squad of, if we bought Everton 50p stake each for £1, what would we do? How would we do it? It was like, so I'm with you a little bit there. It says a second team, just for that moment in time where it was in a 12-year-old's mind, real that we both had 50p. We could buy Everton Football Club. And this is what we do with Alessandro Pistoni and etc. And just great times. But yeah, Everton for me. Actually, I tell a lie there. Personally, because this is the Gov, and if he wants to do away days, I need the three teams to be. I'll say Southampton because they're already, in my opinion, relegated. Forest, and I want to say Leicester, but I don't like Leeds that much. So Leeds or Leicester. That's who I want, George. Just because
we want a West Ham playoff. We all want a West Ham playoff ride, though, don't we? That'd be fun.
Who? I mean,
Like
West Ham.
they're not out.
They're not out. They're not. But they're not
They're not
quite
out.
in it. They're not.
out.
I'd love West Ham to come down. Don't get me wrong. Forest and West Ham coming down. I'd be happy days with Southampton. That'd be delightful.
Yeah. I think I'd take any of those. Like West Ham certainly aren't out of it, but I think any of those teams. You look at those teams, and it's the same at the bottom of the Championship. Really, again, as we were saying earlier, like Reading look hosed. Like it's crazy. Huddersfield, like just bonkers.
But I'm the same in the Championship. I want Reading to stay up because Reading is closer than Huddersfield.
Yeah, there's good logic. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I got literally I don't care who stays up really, as long as who's closest that gets me in that 15 game, 20 game magical ticket for Norwich category. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, so I mean they're the teams down the bottom. They're the teams in the playoffs. Again, like reasons, I'd want Borough to go up because Millwall, Coventry, and Luton are much closer than Middlesbrough.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. You've got a plan. I like it.
I'm doing the old A to Z, looking up and down. A lot of people in the chat said about George Hurst and Leicester. If they come down, they might not sell. Well, they're not in the whole world of financial paradise at Leicester.
I'm not sure that it's not more likely that they would. We talked about this before, I think, and I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't know what their situation is. You don't know the size of the contract that Hurst signed just before he went out to Blackburn. It's not going to have been a Championship wages contract. So who knows? Who knows? It will depend on what the clause is for them going down. It will depend on whether he fancies going back, or whether if they do go down, maybe he's arguably as settled in the Ipswich squad as he is in the Leicester squad, if not more so. So I think that's just a massive unknown for me in terms of the likelihood of.
He's found a home, hasn't he?
Yeah, say again.
Found a home, hasn't he? Here.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. It feels like all the players have, and that's the sort of the noises that they're making. That is that it's just an amazing atmosphere and dressing room and camaraderie, and not just amongst the players, but amongst everyone, all the staff. So yeah, I'd be surprised if he would turn it down, but it will come down to, and I'd be very surprised if we're not already making those phone calls. But it will come down to what Leicester's plans are and how much we're willing to pay, because it's not like they're going to give him to us.
Well, this is it. But for those that subscribe to The Athletic, there's a fantastic article on The Athletic about Leicester City and their financial woes. So even if they stay up, it don't mean anything. Coming down will obviously impact it a little bit more. So any sellable assets they might want to cash in on, maybe if club want to pay George Hurst for $1.5 million, or there's a deal to be done. But there's a great. I'll link it on my social media for anybody that's interested. It's a great article on a club that, if you want George Hurst, if you're invested in George Hurst, like as many Town fans are, and I'm included, it's a really good read. It was put out, I believe, yesterday, and I read it just as I was drifting off to sleep. Totally happy that they might be selling George Hurst. I've got one more 3-word review with some stats sort of attached to it. Anything else from you, George, before we sort of come to that last piece of the show?
No, I don't think so. You asked me if there was something I was going to talk about, and there was one thing that I wanted to say actually, which was that, and this is credit to the club and to Exeter and the officials as well, was that when Leif Davis went down injured just before the end, about 10 minutes to go, I think it was very clearly orchestrated. And what happened there was both teams came in and were told the plan while they announced to the fans for the 3,000th time, don't go on the pitch. All of the players were told at the end, you're going to be given a warning to go. And at the end, the referee looked around, said to everyone, "Are you okay? Are you ready to go?" And then blew the whistle. And I thought that didn't take a lot, but I thought orchestrated really well. So credit to both clubs for allowing that to happen, because Davis clearly wasn't injured. He just sort of sat down and then sort of twiddled his thumbs for a couple of minutes. But McKenna was desperately trying to get all of the players in, and so that was really clearly orchestrated for me anyway. Looked really clearly orchestrated, and it looked really well done. So credit both of the clubs and the officials for that, because I thought it was excellently done.
Eagle eyes. I didn't spot that. Although watching the Town 25, there is a bit towards the full time whistle where there is some hand gesturing going on.
Yeah, the referee.
Now you've said that.
I didn't put it together until I saw the ref look around, and because I think it was their throw, and he said to the thrower, and he kind of looked around a bit and just sort of made sure that everyone was ready, that knew that he was about to blow the whistle. You know, it wasn't about what the time was. It wasn't looking at his watch. He was more concerned about the situation, I think, and then was just like, right now, and it was almost like throw and done. But yeah, I thought it was, silly little thing, but I think one of those things that could have been more chaotic than it was. So fair play.
Absolutely. Daniel says, does anyone know how much money Town gets from being promoted, if any at all? Well, I don't know for sure the exact figures, obviously, having not been in football. But I do remember also well an article from the East Anglian Daily Times, which you probably can't find now. But it was Town's 9 million black hole following relegation. So I'm going to go on that. I'm going to go on.
I think it's a little under that based on last year, but I'm not sure that they've announced next year's yet. I think that's all going on at the moment, isn't it? Or has that been
possibly so?
Sure. I think that's all. It's all being renewed at the moment, so I'm not sure that it's definitive, but it's around or about that. It's less than. It's not as much as it should be, given how much they.
No, it's not. It's not a question I was obviously expecting from the chat, so I've not looked into it, but I do remember that headline ever so well.
And that's just guaranteed as well. So I think the 9 million might be, but I think the guaranteed is like seven and a bit, and then you get paid every time you're on TV. Yeah,
which obviously, if you're Leeds, you'd be raking it in because you're on TV every week. I mean, they've got Wednesday on. It's going to be like every week from this point on.
Yeah, and I think it's different depending on who you are as well. It's probably based on stadium size or something silly. Yeah.
But there we go. So there we go. Right. Last 3-word review is from a Melanie Burns. You might know her. Her 3-word review was "We have dragons," and a picture was shared with the 3-word review of this wonderful picture, which was courtesy of Stephanie Broadhead. There you go. Our Welsh wizards. Love to see that. Those are the 3-word reviews, and I've got some stats attached to that. Or I did have, but I've lost them. Nathan Broadhead. Last 5 games. He said 14. Well, don't matter last 5 games. But he said 14 direct goal involvements, 8 goals, 6 assists in 18 appearances for Kieran McKenna's side. Has he been the tipping point, George? Do you think?
I'm not sure but certainly they. The additions in January, I thought definitely, and the little changes that McKenna made to how we played. Combined are the big change for me. But obviously, Broadhead is just a phenomenal talent, and we have said that word a lot tonight, and I'll probably say it a lot more over the summer. But what a steal he was, and won't Everton just regret getting rid of him when he turns up against them next year?
Oh, looking forward to that already. And it's not me singling out one of the dragons there, because they are both dragons, as Melanie Burns pointed out. I just didn't have any stats at hand for Wes Burns. Whereas I had a bookmark tweet from weeks ago or a few days ago about Nathan Broadhead. So I was just kind of being lazy. I mean, I'm celebrating a promotional win here. I mean, give me some credit. Right, we're done. We're dusted. The Monday night in the books. The last Monday night of a League One. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. We'll see you back next Monday, which will be officially the last of League One, I guess. I mean,
no, our season's over by then. Doesn't count.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, we obviously will be reviewing Fleetwood and a possible title. We're back on Wednesday at 8:30 for the look ahead to that, where I'll be posing the question: can Town be called the best team in League One if we don't win the title? So do join us for that headlining segment. In addition to meet the ref, etc., etc. So it's a great show. Thanks for letting me on. Always a pleasure, Derek. You're welcome anytime. And Phil says, let's look at the championship badge. Okay, George, you're Mr. Designer. We love you. We appreciate you. But for that to happen, I've got to move you. So I'll speak to you again very soon. Look after yourself. Larry. Oh, hang on. No, wait, that's not worked, is it? I can bring you back, I guess. Hang on. There's a button. There it is.
There's about 15 different things.
There it is. In all her beauty. The sky.
That's the right one.
And it's the right one. Town are going up. There's the championship badge. We're talking Town. Hit like, hit subscribe for all of the content that's for fans, by fans, with love, with care.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down low and I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I thought went crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair.